Hi, I'm Steve Carlson. I'm running for the United States Senate on August 12th with the Independence Party at the top of the ticket. And today, as an independent candidate, not affiliated with the Republican or Democrat establishment, I want to share with you my views on foreign policy. For now, let me address the Middle East, although I am aware there is literally a world full of foreign policy issues. In the general election, if I win the primary, I want to address any foreign policy issue raised or that I can find a way to address. And I will occasionally address a few other matters to put this in context. To begin with, the border, the Mexican border, where Central American immigrants are also seeking entry to the country, is a foreign policy issue, which I have already addressed in a number of videos you can see at my YouTube site under Steve Carlson, or at my website, stevecarlsonforcongress2010.com. I highlighted the need to enforce the Wilberforce Act to stop human trafficking, one of our major foreign policy goals, for the Central American immigrants as well as Mexican immigrants. And I show a way to secure the border by involving the state governments of all the Mexican and American border states and opening it to business with factories instead of building fences against each other. Today, we see chaos and danger to America in the Middle East as a result of foolishness, political foolishness in foreign policy by President Obama and Secretary of State Clinton, who I understand is now giving interviews attacking the president for the terrible failures of their joint foreign policy. But I am not trying to be divisive, and I'll address Republican ideas as well. But I say foolish only to show clearly that this is bad foreign policy. We have clearly seen the return of religious war by the growing terrorist movement allowed by this foreign policy foolishness against Christians, against Jews, and against other Muslims not allied with this terrorist movement. And they may recruit agents to attack inside the United States. This is increasing the danger for both the Palestinians and Israelis as well, as this military capability, not controllable through nation states in the region, grows. They can target this toward both Israel and the United States. I just don't think that a party like Obama's, who constantly campaigns on just growing racial and gender and now homosexual identity politics in order to achieve a congressional majority, and basically undercuts all of America's foreign policy interests, is properly oriented to lead us back to peace. And let me be clear, that is what I want. And just like prosperity, health, or education, the question is, how do we get it? How do we get peace? And let me draw a parallel others have noticed too. I also believe that with the racial politics where a black president is inviting Hispanics to join him at the table to hasten the retirement of white leadership does not look that much different than Iraq and al-Maliki, where the Democrat leaders say they are trying to build a democracy that looks like the United States. Well, I've got news for you. It does look like the United States, just as fragmented and divided, where the Republican House is trying to figure out whether to impeach Barack Obama or sue him in federal court, because he simply will not follow the Constitution and will not do anything except continue to point his finger and campaign against the Republicans. And Kevin Terrell, who the Independence Party leaders put out there because of his supposed foreign policy expertise, has proposed giving the children on the border green cards. That is also unconstitutional. And Newt Gingrich's ideas for trying to right the country, trying to normalize the nation, is that Republicans can take the Senate in the election and then cut off all the money and solve this problem. This won't work either. What will work is to elect me, Steve Carlson, to the Senate by first giving me your vote August 12th, in a day or so, at your precinct voting booth. But Gingrich's idea won't work, first, because it will further damage the economy and the government and politics. Second, last time they tried to confront Obama fiscally, his friends were widely circulating treason charges against members of Congress with the Tea Party who were trying to defund Obamacare. If the president will not follow the Constitution, the only remedy provided is impeachment. He has to return to the table and work within the constitutional framework. And the mass media, who seems gleeful every time they get a story that demands our immediate attention, is being irresponsible. Their rights come under the First Amendment as a free press, not a libertine press, not a libertarian press, but to aid in political governance. They're on vacation most of the time, and then when they do address these issues, most of us already know about it because we got it from the internet or looking over publications if we want more information. But to return to this Middle East foreign policy issue, most observers agree that the only reason Barack Obama was originally elected president is because he said he would end both the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, and this is the outcome of his action. That's how he beat Clinton. He wasn't elected as the first black president, but as the peace candidate against Hillary Clinton in Iowa. He campaigned saying he didn't oppose all wars, just dumb wars. Obama doesn't have a policy. That doesn't mean I think every foreign policy action he's taken is wrong. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. To be clear, where I think he has been right has been some places where he has shown restraint. I believe his preordained pullouts of our deployment in Afghanistan and Iraq shows his rashness and lack of restraint. But his overall demeanor of relative restraint, I believe, has been helpful in some places I'll mention and puts us in a better position in some ways to engage our present perilous situation. And now here we are. It's time to get serious. I want to bring some clarity, and I cannot agree with the politics of Republican senators when to draw a contrast to win an election they criticize Obama for not arming protesters in Syria to overthrow the Assad government. Why did we support and want to arm protesters, in the words of Democrat presidential candidate Hillary Clinton, and overthrow the Syrian government? To give energy to Secretary Clinton's foolish policy of encouraging Arab Spring. This whole Arab Spring campaign of Clinton's led to the military resistance in Syria, which we're seeing now. The Arab world having fought and lost or simply fled in Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, the largest Arab state, and finally in Syria, dug in the undefended space in Syria and Iraq, creating what looks like a new country. But that new formation, which they call a religious caliphate, is a great danger to America. You know, during the Ottoman Islamic Empire, these kind of Muslim government units conducted an annual harvest of white slaves, which they got from Crimea, slaves from both Ukraine and Russia. Then the Muscovites from Moscow drove them out. White slavery by Muslims. The region is indeed dangerous. But those who want to launch a military invasion are also way, way off the mark. The politically motivated criticism on Obama's decision not to aid the rebels, who have now become ISIS and pose a major threat in the region and to our nation, is wrong, because they are another Osama bin Laden, who grew strong in Afghanistan. Killing bin Laden was not a foreign policy, and in itself should not have led to Obama's re-election. His original smart war peacenik policies and Clinton's smart power policies have failed utterly. Here's what I think we need to do now, and what I will do if elected. First, we need to know our own interest. Stop talking about, I think we should take care of our needs at home. My Republican opponent, Tony Hernandez, in 2012 said he would try to vote and end 2 wars, Iraq and Afghanistan, to save money. Unbelievable. I think I won that debate. There's 2 points that need to be challenged here. This idea that we just got to take care of our own, and they're related. First, how do we do that? How do we take care of our own? Unbelievable as it may sound, many Americans, particularly many of those who have been voting for Democrats, actually want to take over the country, shut down our defense efforts, and then take all the money to fund federal programs that put money in their own pockets. Not that many of us don't need assistance, we do. But we need to defend ourselves. We need trade. And trade needs peaceful and prosperous relationships with other countries. And war cannot be an industry. But where we are right now, we need defense. And those men and women who helped them, that I sang about in 2010 when I said, the soldiers in Afghanistan out Pakistan way, they want to bring freedom, bring a better day. You know, God wants us to have peace, and for that we pray. Those brave men and women, they were trying to provide that defense for the West and for those in the Middle East who want to benefit from our relations, not turn to war and killing. And when terrorists flew planes into our nerve center of finance and trade, our world trade centers, they destroyed an asset which we can use to help take care of our own. Between 3,000 and sometimes you hear 20,000 lives that are unaccounted for. Now, when attacked on 9/11, it was because of a failed foreign policy. When Colin Powell and George H.W. Bush decided not to go on to Baghdad and finish the war, but to leave an occupying force which blockaded innocent people and brought a presence to the region like that the Russians used to have in Afghanistan, and naturally became a magnet for trouble. And this comes to the second point I want to challenge. If we can all agree first that we can achieve the way of life we want by raiding the defense treasury, and we can't do it without defending ourselves as a nation that exports opportunity, that we need to keep some of for ourselves. If we can all agree on that, then there is a big question of how shall we conduct ourselves overseas. And on that, I think we have to change. It's just too easy to project powers, smart wars, and to think that is what makes us a superpower and moves us ahead of everyone else, first among equals. But love overcomes hate, as Marvin Gaye sang. That's true. The most powerful force in the world is love, not destruction. And love brings peace, and the road to that peace begins with respect. I believe all on the earth are God's creation. That's my perspective. And I think a lot of other people's too. But I want to respect all others because they are a human being and deserving of dignity. We all celebrated what was achieved in South Africa. It wasn't all Nelson Mandela, and no one is perfect, but Mandela is a symbol of moving from military solutions to peaceful solutions and seeking a high degree of harmony. After all, the Africans lived in South Africa before Europeans came there. But it was two races or more. Many Indians also lived there too. And their accomplishment there in South Africa today, and what we can hope will spread throughout Africa, is the accomplishment of Americans and other Westerners seeing the need to reach a peaceful accommodation, as well as the African people themselves and Nelson Mandela. Not colonialism, not neocolonialism. Basically, it comes down to this. Put yourself in the shoes of al-Maliki. Sure, to us he's our guy, picked out when Bush was president, trying to put Iraq together after Saddam Hussein was taken out by the United States. But he's a human being, an Iraqi, who has taken on enormous responsibility. He doesn't have that responsibility because we say so or Obama says so. Iraq is a country and needs leadership. But once you are the leader in that arena, you're stuck with it, just as I will be if I replace Al Franken. It's not just curtains up like some entertainment show. It's real time. And same in Afghanistan, with the leadership issue there. When our brave soldiers were there, they were making the supreme sacrifice, but it wasn't to boost the ego of politicians. They believed, they trusted that we had competent, committed leaders. The worst part of Obama's political strategy is that that trust was betrayed. A president who ran on just taking care of our own did not extend that care and concern not only to these soldiers, but to the cause for which we were there. That was to defend America and to try to bring stability so we could all live together and all just get along. It was cold and brazen. And now to blame al-Maliki for not getting a status of forces agreement is not only wrong because Obama was going to pull out and leave a token force that would not help al-Maliki at all. It also misses the real issue, which is the terrorist threat that this is now presenting to us, which is the reason why we first went there. And now Iraq has to survive. Syria has to survive. And the evil specter of religious war has to be banished. We can respect each other in the context of existing nations. We don't need a non-state nation like ISIS. It's come to the point where we have to work together. And we need to respect each other. Religions need to understand and respect each other. And the atheists need to allow people freedom to exercise their religion. They need to stop using the state to war on all religions and realize that the faithful seek a core of peace, an inner core of peace, love, and joy, that they walk in the light of their Creator. All religions believe this. So when you look to the Middle East, you have to put yourself in the shoes of all these people. And I mean all the people, the Palestinians, the Israelis, the Arabs, and the Jews, and the Christians. Don't demonize them. Don't use them to promote your identity politics, to obliterate them or celebrate their killing, saying, "We came, we saw, and he died." Hillary Clinton, the worst Secretary of State in American history, made both these comments, first about Iran and then about Libya. But be ready to defend yourself, to give respect, but also get respect. Then the right mix of diplomacy and force will have its effect, and it should engage all nations who are able to help. Let's not politicize this. This is getting too existential, too real. It's now touching our lives. And I don't want to leave those pieces about how our politics resembles Iraq's and Afghanistan's hanging. I can't do any of this unless I can make the U.S. Senate work, and we can bring Obama back to the table under the Constitution. And that is my goal. I'm taking the money out of politics, and I won't stop. I want to keep the same First Amendment. I don't want to just repeal and replace like Al Franken has asked the American people to do with our First Amendment. I will work with the representatives there who are Tea Party, who are Democrats, who are Republicans. I won't kowtow to any party because that blocks brain function. We need smart people who will want to put in place laws and solutions that work. That is my number one goal, and I am well able to carry that forward. I'm not going to call people names. We need them if they are there in Congress. And we need to work through the Constitution and make the Constitution work. As for giving and getting respect overseas, we need to do this with all parties in the region beginning now. You need to pay attention to who you vote for, because you can't just say someone else is going to do it. Because as Obama and the Republican politicians show, someone else is doing it, and they're not even talking about their stuff. How to get peace, respect, trade, quality of life, and religious liberties, basic liberties. They have another agenda entirely. The show needs to stop, and the American dream needs to go on. Export our dream of liberty, freedom, and responsibility, and respect for the dignity of all peoples, even if it's not lovey-dovey. It's important. I'm Steve Carlson. I'm running for the United States Senate at the top of the ballot on August 12th with the Independence Party, and I approve this message. Thank you for listening, and I'm asking for your consideration and your vote if that is your choice on August 12th.